The morning I almost left my husband, the smoke alarm started screaming. I was standing in the kitchen with a black pancake in the pan, my suitcase beside the back door, and my wedding ring on the windowsill. Ethan came out of the bedroom with wet hair and a half-tied tie. At first, he laughed. He thought I had only burned breakfast again. Then he saw the suitcase. Then he saw the ring. His smile disappeared so fast that I felt it in my chest. "Clara," he said quietly, "are you going somewhere?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out. The smoke alarm kept screaming above us. The pan was still smoking. Morning light was coming through the curtains, soft and yellow, like nothing terrible was happening. That was the strange thing about pain. Sometimes it did not arrive with storms or shouting. Sometimes it came on a quiet Tuesday morning, while your husband was trying to go to work. My name is Clara Hart. I was 31 years old when I married Ethan Moore. He was 36, calm, patient, and better to me than any man had ever been. People in Maple Bay thought I was lucky. They saw Ethan open doors for me. They saw him carry heavy bags. They saw him wait outside the bakery after my late shifts, holding 2 cups of coffee in his hands. They did not see what happened after we got home. They did not see me standing in the bathroom, pressing both hands against the sink, trying to breathe. They did not know that every kind thing he did made me feel worse. Ethan was not cruel. That was the hardest part. He did not shout. He did not drink too much. He did not disappear for days. He never made me feel small on purpose. He loved me with a simple, honest heart. And I had married him with a broken one. Before Ethan, there was Owen. Owen was my first love. He was the kind of man who made small promises sound like forever. He said he loved my laugh. He said we would travel one day. He said he had never felt so understood by anyone. I believed every word. For 3 years, I built my future around him. I imagined a small house, Sunday mornings, maybe children one day. I imagined growing old beside him. Then one winter evening, he took me to the bus station and told me he needed a different life. Not a different apartment. Not a different job. A different life. I stood under the cold white lights with snow melting on my coat. People walked around us with bags and tickets and tired faces. Owen kept saying he was sorry, but his eyes were already far away. He left on the 7:10 bus. I stayed there until the station worker told me they were closing. After that, I became quiet. I went to work at Winslow Bakery. I smiled at customers. I boxed cakes. I sliced bread. Then I went home and sat in the dark. I stopped cooking. I stopped answering calls. My friend Nora came over with soup and clean towels. She opened my curtains and said, "Clara, you cannot let one man bury you alive." But I already felt buried. That was when Ethan started coming to the bakery. At first, he only bought rye bread every Thursday. Then he started buying blueberry muffins too, even though he later told me he did not really like blueberries. He had warm eyes. He spoke softly. He never pushed. One rainy evening, he noticed I had no umbrella. He walked me to my car under his coat. His shoulder got wet, but he only smiled. The next week, he asked if I wanted coffee. I should have said no. I was not ready. I was not healed. I did not even know who I was without Owen. But Ethan's kindness felt like a warm room after standing too long in the cold. I stepped inside because I was tired. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became walks. Walks became long evenings when Ethan listened while I spoke about safe things. My job. My childhood. The old house where my mother used to plant roses. I did not speak much about Owen. Ethan knew enough to understand there had been someone before him. He did not ask for the whole story. "I don't need to know every wound," he once said. "I just want to be gentle with you." A good woman would have stepped back then. A brave woman would have told him, "Do not love me yet. I am not free inside." But I was lonely. And Ethan was patient. 6 months later, he asked me to marry him on the wooden bridge behind the town library. It was early spring. The trees were just starting to turn green. There were small flowers near the water. He held a little silver ring in his shaking hand. "Clara," he said, "I know life hurt you before. But I want to build something safe with you." I looked at him. I looked at the river behind him. For 1 second, I almost said the truth. I almost said, "Ethan, you are kind, but my heart is still empty." Instead, I heard another voice in my head. Maybe love will come later. Maybe safety is enough. Maybe a good man can teach a broken heart to love again. So I said yes. Everyone cried at our wedding except me. I smiled in the photos. I held the flowers. I danced when people asked me to dance. Ethan looked at me as if the whole world had finally become kind to him. That night, when he fell asleep beside me, I went into the bathroom and cried into a towel so he would not hear. Marriage did not fix me. It only gave my sadness a second bedroom. At first, I tried. I really did. I cooked dinner. I wrote little notes. I kissed Ethan when he came home. I wore the dresses he liked. I remembered his favorite pie and the way he took his coffee. But love is not a lamp you can turn on because a room is dark. Every morning, Ethan made tea before I woke up. Every Friday, he brought home flowers from the corner shop. Every cold night, he warmed my side of the bed with his hands before I got in. And every time he did something kind, a voice inside me whispered, "You are stealing from him." I was stealing his time. I was stealing his hope. I was stealing the love he was trying to give to a woman who could not return it. The first real crack came at his mother's birthday dinner. His mother, Ruth, was a small woman with sharp eyes and a soft voice. She loved Ethan deeply. Maybe too deeply. She had raised him alone after his father died, and she looked at him as if he was still a boy carrying too many bags. That night, the family restaurant was full. There were balloons, candles, plates of pasta, and people laughing too loudly. Ethan sat beside me with his hand resting on the back of my chair. Across the table, Ruth watched us with a smile. Near the end of the dinner, Ethan stood up to make a toast. I thought he would speak about his mother. He did, at first. He thanked her for raising him. He told a sweet story about her working 2 jobs. Everyone smiled. Then he turned to me. "And now," he said, "I have Clara. I have a real home. And maybe soon, if she is ready, we will make that home a little bigger." The table became bright with laughter. Someone clapped. Ruth covered her mouth and looked at me with wet eyes. I froze. Ethan did not say the word baby, but everyone heard it. His cousin asked if they should start buying tiny shoes. His aunt said she still had Ethan's old baby blanket in a box. I felt the room closing around me. I smiled because everyone was looking. But under the table, my hands were cold. That night, on the way home, Ethan was happy. He kept talking about the dinner, about his mother's face, about how maybe next year we could rent a bigger apartment. I looked out the car window at the dark road. "Clara," he asked. "You are quiet." "I'm tired," I said. It was not a lie, but it was not the truth. The next day, Ruth came into the bakery. She ordered a small lemon cake, though I knew she had not come for cake. She waited until the other customers left. Then she leaned on the counter and looked at me. "Ethan wants a family," she said. I wiped flour from my hands. "I know. He has waited a long time to be happy. I know that too." Her eyes became softer, but not kinder. "Then do not keep him waiting if you already know you cannot give him what he wants." My face went hot. I wanted to ask what she meant. I wanted to act surprised. But I could not. Maybe Ruth saw more than I thought. Maybe mothers always do. That evening, I met Nora by the lake. The sky was grey. Ducks moved slowly across the water. Nora handed me a paper cup of coffee and studied my face. "You look like someone is following you," she said. I almost laughed. Maybe someone is. Who? My own life. Nora did not smile. So I told her everything. I told her about Ethan's toast. I told her about Ruth. I told her about the baby comments and the bigger apartment and the way I felt when everyone clapped. Nora listened without moving. When I finished, she said, "You cannot bring a child into a marriage you are hiding from." I know. And you cannot punish yourself forever because Ethan is good. That sentence hurt. Because that was exactly what I was doing. I thought leaving a good man would make me cruel. So I stayed. But staying was turning me into someone worse. A few days later, I bought a bus ticket. I did not plan it carefully. I was walking home from work when I passed the small travel office near the pharmacy. There was a poster in the window with a picture of the coast. For 10 minutes, I stood outside like a thief. Then I went in and bought a ticket to Briar City, where Nora's sister had an empty room. The ticket was for the next Tuesday morning. I folded it into my wallet. All weekend, I felt it there, like a hot stone. Ethan noticed something was wrong. Of course he did. He noticed everything. On Saturday morning, he made pancakes. On Sunday evening, he asked if I wanted to visit the Library Bridge where he had proposed. I said yes because I had become very good at saying yes when I meant no. We walked there under a pale sky. The river was low. The trees moved in the wind. Ethan leaned against the wooden rail and smiled. "Do you remember this place?" he asked. "Yes. I was so scared that day," he said. "I thought you might say no." I looked at the river. He touched my hand. "Sometimes I still feel scared." I turned to him. He was not smiling now. "Scared of what?" I asked. He took a long breath. "That you are kind to me because you feel sorry for me. Not because you love me." My heart beat hard. The truth stood between us, plain and quiet. I could have told him then. I should have told him then. Instead, I squeezed his hand and said, "Ethan, don't think like that." His face changed only a little, but I saw it. Something in him stepped back. On Monday, I found Owen again. Not in a dream. Not in an old photo. In the cereal aisle at Miller's Market. I had stopped there after work for milk. I turned the corner, and he was standing with a basket on his arm, reading the back of a soup can. For one strange second, my body forgot the years. Then he looked up. "Clara." His voice was the same and not the same. His hair was shorter. There were lines near his eyes. I held the milk so tightly that my fingers hurt. "Owen," I said. We stood there between cereal boxes and soup cans, like two ghosts who had met in the wrong place. He asked how I was. I said I was married. He looked at my ring, then looked away. "I heard," he said. "Ethan Moore, right? Good guy. Good guy." Those 2 words made me want to run. Then a woman came around the corner, carrying oranges in a cloth bag. She was pregnant. Very pregnant. Owen smiled when he saw her. "This is Leah," he said. "My wife." His wife. The word did not break my heart. That surprised me. I looked at Leah's round belly, at Owen's hand resting gently on her back, at the easy way he belonged beside her. I did not feel love. I felt foolish. For a whole year, I had been living beside Ethan as if Owen's shadow still owned part of me. But Owen was not waiting in some sad room. He had moved on. He had chosen a life. He had become someone else's husband. And I was still using his leaving as a reason to stay lost. Leah smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you." I smiled back. A few minutes later, I walked out of the market without buying anything except the milk. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and laughed once, sharply. Then I cried. Not because I wanted Owen back. Because I finally understood. My heart was not empty because Owen had taken love away. It was empty because I had been afraid to enter my own life. That night, Ethan found the bus ticket. I had left my wallet on the kitchen table. He was looking for coins for the laundry. I came out of the bedroom and saw him standing there with the ticket in his hand. The apartment felt very still. "When were you going to tell me?" he asked. I looked at the ticket. Tuesday, 8:20 a.m. Briar City. "I don't know," I said. "Were you coming back?" I could not answer. He nodded slowly, as if my silence was a door closing. "I thought so," he said. Then he placed the ticket on the table and walked into the bedroom. He did not shout. That was worse. That night, I slept on the couch. I listened to him moving behind the bedroom door. Once, I heard something fall. Once, I thought I heard him cry. I did not go to him. I had hurt him enough with my half-love. I did not want to comfort him with another lie. The next morning was Tuesday. The bus left at 8:20. I woke before 6 and packed a small suitcase. 2 pairs of jeans. 3 shirts. My journal. A framed photo of my mother. A sweater Nora had given me years ago. In the kitchen, I tried to make breakfast. My hands shook. I burned the first pancake. Then the second. The smoke alarm started screaming. Ethan came out. He saw the suitcase. He saw the ring. And the lie finally ran out of places to hide. I opened the window to let the smoke out. The cold air rushed in. The alarm stopped after a few more cries. Ethan stood across from me in his white shirt, his tie still loose around his neck. "Say it," he whispered. I shook my head. Tears came fast. "Please," he said. "I have lived inside your silence for a year. Just say it." So I did. "I don't love you the way you love me." His face went pale. I pressed my hands together because they would not stop shaking. "I wanted to," I said. "I tried. I thought love would grow because you were safe and kind. I thought if I became a good wife, my heart would follow. But it didn't." Ethan looked at the floor. "I married you because I was broken," I said. "And that was wrong. You did not deserve to become my bandage." For a long time, he said nothing. Then he gave a small, painful smile. "I knew before the wedding," he said. I stared at him. He looked toward the window, where my ring still sat in the light. "The night before we got married, I saw you in the church hallway. You were crying behind the flower boxes. Nora was with you. You said, 'I hope I can love him enough.'" My stomach turned cold. "You heard that?" "Yes." "Why did you still marry me?" His eyes filled with tears, but he did not let them fall. "Because I thought enough could become everything," he said. "I thought if I loved you well, you would stop standing at the door." The words broke me more than anger could have. We had both been pretending. I had pretended I could love him. He had pretended he did not see that I couldn't. We sat at the kitchen table while the burnt pancakes cooled in the pan. Outside, a school bus passed. Somewhere downstairs, a dog barked. Life kept moving, even as hours changed forever. "I'm sorry," I said. "I know. I never wanted to use you. I know that too. But I did." He closed his eyes. When he opened them, he looked older. "Yes," he said. "You did." That was the first honest sentence between us. It hurt, but it was clean. I missed the bus that morning. Not because I stayed as his wife, but because some endings should not begin with running. We spent the day making small decisions with heavy hearts. I would stay with Nora for a while. I would take only my clothes and personal things. Ethan would keep the apartment until the lease ended. We would not tell everyone at once. That evening, Ruth came over. Ethan had called her. I do not know what he said, but she arrived with red eyes and tight lips. When she stepped into the apartment and saw my suitcase, she looked at me as if I had broken something sacred. "You knew," she said. I did not defend myself. "You knew you did not love him, and you still let him marry you." "Yes," I said. Ruth's mouth trembled. "Do you understand what you have done?" Ethan stood behind her. "Mom." "No," she said, turning to him. "She needs to hear it." "I have heard it inside my own head every day," I said quietly. Ruth looked as if she wanted to say more. Maybe something cruel. Maybe something true. But Ethan touched her shoulder. "Mom, please," he said. I loved her with my eyes open too. Ruth turned to him. Her anger fell apart for 1 second, and all that was left was fear for her son. He looked at me. That was the last gift he gave me in that apartment. He did not save me from guilt. He saved me from hatred. Nora picked me up after sunset. I carried 1 suitcase and 1 brown box. Ethan carried them down the stairs for me. At the bottom, he handed me the box and stepped back. We stood beside Nora's car under the yellow parking lot light. I wanted to say something beautiful. Something that could make the moment less ugly. But there was no beautiful sentence for what I had done. So I only said, "Thank you for loving me." Ethan nodded. "I hope one day you love yourself enough not to hide inside someone else," he said. Then he went upstairs. I watched his shadow move behind the curtain. For 1 second, I wanted to run back and promise I would try harder. But trying harder had been the problem. I got into Nora's car. She did not ask questions. She just drove. For the first few weeks, I slept badly. Nora's guest room was small, with pale blue walls and a narrow bed. At night, I listened to the pipes in the wall and the cars passing outside. I expected freedom to feel bright. It did not. It felt cold at first. It felt like waking up in a house after a storm and seeing everything broken on the floor. I cried for Ethan. I cried for myself. I cried for the woman I had been at the bus station years ago, the woman who had mistaken kindness for healing. Nora let me cry. Then, one morning, she placed a notebook on my bed. "Write 1 true page," she said. "Not a good page. Not a pretty page. A true one." So I wrote. The first page was ugly. The sentences were short. Some words were crossed out so hard the paper tore. I wrote about the burned pancakes. I wrote about the ring on the windowsill. I wrote about Ethan's face when he asked me to say the truth. After that, I wrote every night. I kept working at the bakery. I rented a room above Mrs. Vale's old flower shop. The stairs creaked. The window stuck in the rain. The heat made a strange knocking sound. But the room was mine. I bought 1 chair, 1 small table, and a second-hand kettle. For a long time, I owned almost nothing. And somehow, that helped. There was no husband to smile for. No mother-in-law to please. No ring to explain. No future baby to imagine with fear. There was only me, learning how to live without using another person as a wall against loneliness. 3 months later, I saw Ethan again. It happened at the farmer's market on a cold Saturday. I was buying apples when I heard his laugh. I knew it before I turned. He was standing near a table of handmade wooden toys. He wore a brown jacket. His hair was longer. He looked thinner, but not broken. Ruth was beside him, choosing jam. For a second, I wanted to leave before they saw me. Then Ethan looked up. Our eyes met. He did not smile right away. Then he nodded. I nodded back. Ruth saw me too. Her face became hard, but she said nothing. Ethan walked toward me. My heart beat like a fist. "Hi," he said. "Hi." The market moved around us. People carried flowers. Children asked for honey sticks. A man played guitar near the coffee stand. "How are you?" I asked. He put his hands in his pockets. "Some days are bad. Some are better." I nodded. "Same." He looked at the apples in my bag. "You still buy the sour ones?" I almost smiled. "You still remember." "I remember many things," he said. There was no blame in his voice, but there was distance. Healthy distance. The kind we had never had while married. "I'm taking a furniture class," he said. "I made that table over there." He pointed to a small wooden table with smooth edges. "It's beautiful," I said. His face softened. "Thank you." I wanted to tell him I was sorry again. But sorry had already been said. Too many times, maybe. So I said something else. "I hope your home feels peaceful." He looked at me for a moment. "Not yet," he said. "But it feels honest." That answer stayed with me all day. 6 more months passed. The divorce papers came in a plain envelope. I thought I would fall apart when I opened it. Instead, I sat by my window, read the pages slowly, and felt a deep sadness mixed with air. Not happiness. Air. That evening, I took my wedding ring from a small box in my drawer. I had not worn it since the day of the smoke alarm. I had kept it wrapped in a white cloth. I walked to the wooden bridge behind the library. The same bridge where Ethan had asked me to marry him. The river moved below, dark and quiet. Early stars appeared above the trees. I stood there for a long time, holding the ring in my palm. I did not throw it into the water. That would have been too easy. The ring was not evil. Ethan was not evil. Even I was not evil. The ring was only proof that two lonely people had tried to turn hope into love and had failed. I took it to a small jewelry shop the next week. The owner was an older man with gentle hands. I asked him to melt the ring and make it into something else. "What would you like?" he asked. I thought about it. Not a necklace. Not another ring. "A bookmark," I said. "A small silver bookmark." He looked surprised, but he did it. When I picked it up, it was thin and simple, with one small line carved down the middle. "What does the line mean?" he asked. I ran my finger over it. "A door," I said. He did not understand, and that was fine. 1 year after the morning I almost left Ethan, I burned pancakes again. This time, I was in my own small kitchen above the flower shop. Rain tapped against the window. My kettle was singing. My notebook was open on the table. The smoke alarm gave one sharp cry. I laughed. I opened the window, waved a towel, and watched the smoke move out into the grey morning. There was no suitcase by the door. There was no ring on the windowsill. There was only a plate, a burned pancake, a cup of coffee, and the first page of a story I was finally brave enough to write. I sat down and picked up my silver bookmark. The apartment was quiet. Not empty. Quiet. For a long time, I had believed that being loved by a good person should be enough. I had believed that loneliness was more dangerous than a lie. Now I knew better. A lie can also be a house. It can have warm lights, clean curtains, Friday flowers, and a man making tea in the kitchen. But if your heart is locked outside, it is still not home. I do not know if Ethan has found love again. I hope he has. I hope someone looks at him and feels the love I tried to force into myself. As for me, I am still learning. Some mornings are easy. Some are not. But when I look in the mirror now, I no longer see a woman acting in someone else's life. I see a woman who hurt someone, told the truth too late, and still chose to stop lying. Maybe that is not a happy ending. Maybe it is only an honest beginning. And sometimes, An honest beginning is the first real home we ever have. So I still ask myself this question. Is it more cruel to leave a good person, or to stay and make him love someone who is not really there?